Across the Middle East right now, a familiar sense of tension is quietly building once again. And while disputes in this region are nothing new, what's unfolding today could carry consequences far beyond any single country or border. For decades, the Middle East has stood at the center of global geopolitics. It's a crossroads of energy resources, major trade routes, political alliances, and long-standing rivalries. Because of that, even small shifts in diplomacy or military posture can quickly draw worldwide attention. But here's what makes this moment particularly important. It's not just the tension itself, it's where that tension is happening. Many of the countries involved sit near some of the most critical energy transportation routes on the planet. And when uncertainty begins to surround those routes, global markets, governments, and industries start watching very closely. Because the modern global economy is deeply connected to energy supply. Oil and natural gas still power transportation networks, manufacturing systems, agriculture, and large parts of the world's electricity production. So when the stability of supply routes appears uncertain, even temporarily, the effects can ripple across continents. And this is important. To understand why analysts and policymakers pay such close attention to this region, we have to start with geography. At the center of global energy logistics lies one of the world's most strategically important waterways. It sits between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. This narrow passage is known as the Strait of Hormuz. For decades, it has been considered one of the most critical maritime choke points anywhere in the world. Every single day, a substantial portion of the world's traded oil passes through this narrow corridor. Tankers carrying energy from major producing nations travel through the strait, heading toward markets across Asia, Europe, and beyond. For many economies that rely heavily on imported energy, the steady flow of traffic through this route is absolutely essential. But here's the challenge. The waterway itself is relatively narrow and extremely busy, which means any sign of instability nearby can quickly trigger concern among shipping companies, investors, and governments. History has shown something important. Disruptions in key supply routes rarely stay local for long. They can influence energy prices, international diplomacy, and global trade stability in ways most people don't immediately see coming. And that's why geopolitical tensions around major energy corridors rarely appear suddenly. In most cases, pressure builds slowly over time. Diplomatic disagreements, shifting alliances, economic competition, and national security concerns can gradually raise the stakes. At the same time, domestic politics inside individual countries can also play a role. Leadership changes, economic pressures, or public opinion at home may push governments towards stronger diplomatic positions or security measures. Those internal decisions can then shape how neighboring countries interpret and respond to each other's actions. And that complex interaction is one reason geopolitical developments in the Middle East can sometimes appear unpredictable to outside observers. Meanwhile, global markets are paying close attention, especially energy markets. Historically, whenever uncertainty surrounds major oil supply routes, markets tend to react quickly. Traders and analysts begin estimating how possible disruptions might affect supply levels or transportation costs. Sometimes the reaction is immediate. Even the possibility of disruption can trigger volatility in oil prices. Shipping insurance costs may rise. Transport companies may review their routes, and governments may quietly prepare contingency plans to ensure stable supply. Many countries actually maintain strategic petroleum reserves for this exact reason. These emergency reserves allow governments to release stored oil into the market, helping cushion temporary disruptions in global supply chains. At the same time, diplomatic activity usually increases. Major economies across Europe, Asia, and North America all share a strong interest in keeping global shipping lanes stable. So during periods of tension, international dialogue often intensifies behind the scenes. Naval patrols may expand, security cooperation may increase, and global institutions may encourage negotiations aimed at preventing escalation. Much of this activity happens out of public view, but it plays an important role in maintaining stability in the global system. Still, even without direct conflict, uncertainty alone can influence the global economy. Energy prices affect nearly every major industry. When oil becomes more expensive, transportation costs rise for airlines, shipping companies, and trucking networks. Agricultural production becomes more costly as fuel prices affect machinery and fertilizer manufacturing, and manufacturing industries face higher operating expenses, which can eventually influence the price of everyday consumer goods. Economists often refer to this as the ripple effect of energy markets. A shift in fuel prices in one region can gradually spread through supply chains, impacting everything from shipping fees to grocery bills. That's why economists and policymakers closely monitor developments around global energy corridors. They look for signals that might indicate whether tensions will ease through diplomacy or evolve into a longer period of geopolitical competition. At the same time, many governments are working to reduce dependence on any single energy choke point. Over the past decade, countries have invested in new pipelines, alternative shipping routes, renewable energy development, and expanded storage capacity. These strategies don't eliminate the importance of traditional routes like the Strait of Hormuz, but they can provide additional flexibility during uncertain times. Looking ahead, analysts generally consider several possible paths when tensions rise near critical trade routes. Diplomatic negotiations could lead to de-escalation. International cooperation could strengthen maritime security, or countries may accelerate efforts to diversify energy supply chains. History shows that geopolitical tensions often move in cycles. Moments of escalation, followed by negotiation and eventually recalibration. But what makes the current moment particularly significant is how interconnected the modern global economy has become. Events in one region can now influence markets, industries, and households thousands of miles away. And that's why developments around critical waterways continue to attract such close global attention. Because when the stability of energy corridors comes into question, the conversation quickly expands beyond regional politics. It becomes a discussion about the resilience of the global economy itself. Now the big question is this: are we looking at another temporary wave of regional tension, or the early signs of a shift that could reshape global energy security? What's your perspective on how geopolitical tensions influence energy markets and everyday economic life? Share your thoughts in the comments. And as international diplomacy continues to unfold in the months ahead, the decisions made around these strategic trade routes could quietly shape the next chapter of global energy security.